celebrate their unhinged violence.
We got the documents almost a decade ago from inside the Soros operation. It's Friends of Democracy runs, funds, and commands, takes the other NGO money, and runs the attacks around the country and gives the orders. And Alexander Soros is one of the main funders, have been in charge of it. So there it is. We reposted the article on Infowars.com a few months ago as a flashback. Democrats still plan for civil unrest and martial law in Baltimore. But what it really is about, the main Antifa control arm discovered. Trump's asking, who takes all the money from the NGOs and funnels it to them? And they say, well, sir, we're going to file a report on that. Here it is. Same thing in Europe. Same organizations, same groups. This is key to the Justice Department's investigation and the declaration by the president that they're an international terror group. Okay? It tells it all. This is absolute racketeering, organized crime, terrorism, domestic, international. And it's how it's directed and how it operates. It's not headless. It's not autonomous. It is totally controlled. And back when I would cover it, 𝗬𝗢𝗔𝗥 would cover it, we get sued and attacked and taken off the air because they were successful at keeping this information away from Congress and everybody else. So there is the smoking gun.
Okay. So that was from last year. And the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because now a lot of these organizations actually have been held to account so far, right? So far. Now, Alex did bring up Friends of Democracy. So I wanted to bring that up to you guys really quick. And you can find that on Open Secrets. I'll make sure I try to link this particular part of the website for Open Secrets, so you guys can go right here. But if you just go to Open Secrets and you type in Friends of Democracy, you should get this. What I noticed is there were only donations up to 2016 that they accounted for. That's it. So if you go to 2018, there's nothing there, which is very interesting. But if you go back to 2016, one of the names that stood out to me was Jonathan Soros. Now, there is the father, right? Mr. Soros. And then I want to say Alex Soros is one of his other sons as well. But every voice they were donating to Friends of Democracy. So it's going to be interesting to see how the DOJ does handle this. Are you now going to still go after the Friends of Democracy, right? Because you've gone after all these other people. Like this is going to get really interesting. Now, I want to play just part of this video, and this is just outlining some of the recent indictments that we are going to see and have seen.
First test of this terror designation of Antifa is the Prairie Land defendants in Texas. These were the individuals who conspired to attack a federal facility, an ICE facility in Texas, actually shot a local police officer in the neck. This morning, they were sentenced. This from our friend Andy No. Check out his No Comment Substack. He covers Antifa better than anyone else. North Texas Antifa terror cell members sentenced to combined 450 years in federal prison. So these individuals were not just charged as terrorists. They were convicted as terrorists, and they will serve hard time in federal prison as terrorists. According to No, in the background here, the cell plotted and carried out an attack on the Prairie Land ICE Detention Center in Alvarado, Texas on July 4th of last year. So we're coming up on 1 year since this happened. That's also a very quick conviction, I will say, a very quick process, just a year for something like this. It says jurors found the defendants guilty of offenses including providing material support to terrorists, rioting, conspiracy involving explosives and related crimes. The group used explosive fireworks to lure federal agents and facility personnel from the detention center before opening fire. Now, the so-called ringleader of all of this is a Antifa operative named Benjamin Song, and he identified himself as Antifa. Andy No has multiple images of him dressed head to toe in black bloc. That's what black bloc looks like when we talk about how these Antifa terrorists style themselves and their communication tactics. This This case out of Texas is just exhibit A of what me and others mean, and what we told the president when we went to brief him on Antifa last year about, you can complain about, oh, Antifa doesn't have an organized structure. That's the point of Antifa. So Benjamin Song was sentenced to 100 years in prison. He will die in prison. For attempted murder and discharging a firearm in furtherance of a crime of violence. He is the one who shot Alvarado Police Lieutenant Thomas Gross in the neck, and thankfully the lieutenant was able to survive. But can you go back to that picture quick? Because I think it also shows something when you unmask Antifa. Look how intimidating he looks on the left. And that's the goal of what they wear and the black bloc and all this stuff. And look what an absolute weak-looking coward of a man he actually looks like in real life.
Okay, a lot of adjectives. Not going to get into it. But I just wanted to point out, like, 450 years combined, like, they're not playing with these people. And I'll see if I can link that older show that I did back in October, because I mentioned a few other things in that video after Alex was talking. And it's like, if people are going along with this, they may be in for a world of trouble, right? And that's what Alex Jones was trying to say. But people kept thinking, oh, they're not a terrorist organization. That you're just saying these things. 450 years combined between these 15 people. We can do some fast math. They're at least going to get, let's say, a minimum of 50 years or less. Like 30, was that about 30 years? 450, yeah, 30 years. At least, before they're going to be trusted to go back out on the street. Telling of what's going to happen going forward, because I think a lot of these organizations, they really don't think they're going to be held to account. Now, I want to play this next one, and then we're going to get into more of the background, and I'll take you to the DOJ website just for the cases that are mentioned.
Peaceful protests anymore. We're not talking about having polite conversations anymore.
Today, a federal indictment was unsealed, charging 15 defendants with conspiracy to impede or injure federal officers and other charges related to efforts of two Minneapolis-based Antifa groups that violently opposed the enforcement of federal law in our state. The defendants are members and associates of Direct Action Minnesota. Today's charges and arrests reflect a broad federal effort to address organized, lawless behavior which seeks to disrupt the execution of federal law, endanger law enforcement, and importantly, endanger the very communities that these defendants falsely claim to be protecting.
Yeah, but I find it fascinating that each of these groups had 15 people. Is that I don't want to call it like a magic number, but like, what are we doing? Like 15 in Texas, 15 in Minnesota. What is this about this 15 number? I just find that interesting. So what I wanted to do, I'm going to take you guys to the first one. And this one is about the Prairie Land, but this is from March of this year, right? When they were actually convicted. Now we know they've been, charged and everything. Like it's over. It's a 12-day trial, 210 exhibits. And of course, you saw the video with Pam Bondi saying Antifa is a domestic terrorist organization that has been allowed to flourish in Democrat-led cities, not under President Trump. Okay, so I will definitely make sure you have the link to this so you can see it. And it does have some pictures of the exploding fireworks at the detention center trying to disrupt, right? Antifa cell members, vandalism. But what I find fascinating is we've seen a lot of that vandalism everywhere. So if this happened in Texas, it also happened in Minnesota, what's going to happen to Los Angeles or Portland, Oregon, right? Or Illinois? There are other locations where this stuff has occurred. Yeah. I kept saying it. I was like, people throwing themselves on cars and doing all this stuff. I was like, you are going to go to prison. You do not mess with federal agents. What is wrong with you? It's one thing to protest across the street and yell and scream and do whatever. It's another thing to actually impede them from doing their job. Now, here are the 15 members, of Direct Action Minnesota in Minneapolis, a Minneapolis-based action group with Antifa ties. Okay, and so they've been charged, and there's been indictments. They haven't been sentenced yet.